Welcome back. It's time for one of our more frequent guests, Kristian Frederickson from Fingerprint Cards. Welcome.
Thank you.
And hopefully we will hear a few words about what is the current situation within biometric cards and potentially the situation in China after the lockdown. So welcome, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes, and welcome on my behalf as well. And I'll run through a little bit about the company and what we are doing strategically, and I will also touch base on the recent COVID-19 and how the virus has affected us and our business, right? So let's get going. I'm not going to dwell too much on the history of the company. Over 1997, a long time ago, the company was founded. We do biometric systems, mainly fingerprint sensors and iris. And our biggest part of the business is in the mobile business with the mobile phones, and that's where we have come into. If I'll give you some numbers, I think interesting to know that customers touch our sensors over 10 billion times every day. That is, and we have produced as of May last year, we hit the 1 billion sensors produced as well and sold into the market, which is quite a big number actually. So, and we continue delivering about 7 sensors every second, 24/7, 365 days a year. And as of today, we have been in more than 430 mobile phones with our fingerprint sensors, and a few of them also with the iris. 8 out of the 10 mobile OEMs, the largest OEMs, the top 10, 8 out of them are our customers. And we are in 21 out of the 21 so far confirmed pilots, and we are when it comes to smart cards or payment cards, and in the one and only commercial launch of a payment card that was done in Switzerland last year. Now, a few words, we have used this before as well to explain a little bit about the market potential. So the mobile phone industry, which is typically about 1.5 billion phones produced per year. So, and there is a 70% penetration for biometrics now in the mobile industry. That is, this year we expect it to decline because of the COVID virus. We expect there is in the demand point of view, there is about 10 to 20% decline on the year basis for the whole industry in the mobile phones, right? So there you can see that there is an impact in our main business as well. I think, however, that the other businesses are actually also getting more of a kick into this industry. So there is a negative impact, but on the longer term and even shorter term, there is also a positive impact from this unfortunate and tragic event, of course, hitting us all. We see in access market, which is about getting access to buildings, access for people into computers and systems and through different doors. That is going to be about 1.7 billion units per year. And of course, the single biggest market is the payment market, where we want to make worry-less payments, basically, right? So we want to make it possible to pay faster, more secure, and more safe as well, more hygienic ways as well, contactless. And that's a market with we expect to be about between 6 and 8 billion cards produced per year, out of which, of course, over 60% are going to be now contactless, and we, of course, expect over time all of the contactless to have biometric in it as well. That's a little bit about the market. In terms of our opportunities, the only market that has really moved so far has been the mobile market. So in a way, mobile is the first step, and then you see access and payment industry coming in as well. So from a biometrics point of view, this is still an expanding industry. It's a fascinating, highly competitive, interesting industry, and digitalization is clearly driving that as well. We have a leading position when it comes to the capacitive fingerprint sensors and also in the iris part of it. And of course, innovation for any high-tech company, that's what you need to do. We need to get more into cards, more into access. We're launching new products, of course, every year in this space as well, both with fingerprint sensors as well as with touchless iris, as we call it. As a company, we are generating cash positive, and of course, we need to find more growth as a company going forward. Let me go through the basic ideas of mobile, payment and access. Those are the main areas where we work as a company at the moment, right? So if you'll bear with me. As I said, about 70% of the mobile phones have biometry in them now, as of today. That is still growing. Only the low-end phones are without biometry as of today, clearly. And clearly, as I said, we have over 10 billion touches per day with our sensors by consumers. So clearly, biometry is replacing, and the fingerprint sensor is replacing the PIN and the password, right? So nobody wants to use that, no one wants to type that. And 82% of consumers have now access to biometrics on their smartphone. So from that perspective, with all that reach, people are very used to biometrics. So they're much more comfortable using it. And it is for today used, of course, for unlocking the phone, paying for mobile payments, and then, of course, access and protecting different apps, as we are all aware of. I said before, we launched in over 430 mobile phones, and we are with 8 out of the 10 largest OEMs are as our customers as of today. Latest was, of course, getting into Samsung, which has been a long effort for us. So I'm pleased that we managed to do that as well as a company. So basically, from the mobile part of view, and if I then touch a little bit about the impact of the coronavirus again, so clearly we were in Q1, the impact was mainly on supply because of the shutdowns in China. So the factories were shut down. There was a lot of impact. The logistics was more difficult for us as we have so much of our production in Asia. So the impact was clearly in Q1 when it comes to the supply. Now in Q2, we see more of the impact on the demand side of mobile phones specifically, right? So clearly, and we have said that roughly between 10 to 20% decline in the overall mobile phone industry. Having said that, I think we had adapted well, and we had, if you may, we had a possibility to adapt ourselves earlier because we are present in Asia, so we had to go through the shutdown and the impact of working from the home first in China and then Taiwan, Korea. So we were more trained in it, if you may, and have been able to adapt, I think, quite well into this situation, and also been able to run our project, continue with the deliveries, and not being impacted that much. You saw in the Q1, we had a 10% drop year on year in revenues versus the year before, roughly. And so there was an impact, but still, I think that going forward, looking at the year, we are still more supply limited than demand limited. So we could sell more, so it is still more about getting the supply up and running for us across the board. But as an organization, we're functioning, all the projects are ongoing. So I'm very pleased that we are able to work efficiently, even if we have had offices, people working from home for quite some time in different phases. Right now, China and Asia is up and running. The offices are up. The business is continuing over there. And of course, we have the impact then in Europe and US at the moment. We are the market leader and continue, and we have taken market share in the capacitive fingerprint sensors. I'm not pleased that we haven't launched the hot zone optical solutions yet. We continue working on that, and of course, immediately when we get design wins, we will communicate about that. It is important for us to do also that, so that innovation work continues for us. And of course, I'll get to the payment part of our business as well. I'm very pleased that we entered Samsung, as I said earlier. That was one of the big customers that we had not entered before, and that was important for us. We have launched new products and we will continue. So a lot of the fingerprints are moving around the phone. It went from the back side to the side, so it is very slim, good sensors on the side of the phone now, so very easy to open and use, right, for us. And then we also launched more product into the access side of the business. I'm very pleased that we also launched the touchless, so it's a combination of iris and face that we have launched, both for added security and of course speed and convenience, adding the face into the touchless 2.0 platform that we have just launched as well. Now then, talking about payments, if that was the mobile, if I'll give you a view on the payment side. So clearly, first of all, here if I look at the impact, there is if mobile, the impact has been a decline in the demand and challenges with the supply that we have been managing quite okay, I would say. on payment side, there is an acceleration, right? So clearly, people do not want to touch the POSs, the terminals. They do not want to put PIN codes in them anymore. So there's an acceleration of contactless payments. This is helping both the mobile phone payments as well as the cards, the contactless cards. So there is a clear increase in credit cards and debit card payments where people want to pay contactless. They just want to flip the card and pay by that. So the caps have been raised in over 20 countries now, from $20 or euros up to even 50 euros per payment, right? So people want the cap away, they want the speed, they want the hygienic factor. So there's a clear need for a faster, easier, securer way to pay. And the biometry is the only solution that actually helps there, right? So we can see also that consumers want biometrics, and there is a lot of interest into that. If we look at today, we are in 21 of the 21 existing contactless biometric payment card pilots, and we have launched in the only commercial launch so far. We expect the bigger banks in Europe, in the bigger countries, to launch this year commercially, which is of course the trigger point for really starting to move into the payment industry and getting really worry-free, worry-less payments for good. So basically you don't have to have the PIN code anymore. You don't put the card into the device anymore. You just flip it within 1 second, you have paid, and we can take the cap away. So to simplify, basically you get worry-less payments, faster, more secure, and safer. So as said, first commercial launch in this payment industry was actually last year in November. And we have launched now our biometric software platform also in 2019. And we were, of course, the world's first volume order in payment industry for biometric cards. We are cooperating with all top 3 card manufacturers. And of course, as said, this is now work a lot together with the banks to get these cards tested in the pilots. The feedback from the pilots has been very positive. So consumers want this. It is working faster, efficiently, and they actually don't want to give the card back after the pilot. So that's a good sign, I think, that people really want the cards, they want to use them, and they don't want to give away the cards anymore. Now, from a bank's point of view, this will be a good business case because they can actually charge for the cards, and they expect to be able to charge for the cards as well. So it's a good added service for them, as well as more secure, and of course helps with adaptation of getting the caps away, lifted finally for us. Then shortly on the access side as well, if I end with how we are doing in the access side of our business. So there's an increased interest here as well, right? So this is also getting a boost now. People, to use normal access cards, they are ridiculously easy to hack and copy. And anybody can use the card. You don't know who is using it if you lose it, or in a way it's very easy to copy those cards, right, when you do access cards. So, but when you put the fingerprint sensor there and you add a huge amount of security with that move only, right? So access card with a fingerprint sensor, you just flash it and we know it's you who is using the card, and you are the only one who can open actually together with that card and have access to a building, access to a PC, access to whatever part that anybody wants to have access to. We're seeing the spread, of course, now in access part for us as well in terms of the PC. Because of the home working, there is much more need to know who is logging in. So biometric coming more and more into PCs, it's coming into door locks, and it is coming into access cards and dongles as well. So there we are. The biggest market so far has been door locks, but we expect now access cards to start taking a move as well, because biometric coming in there is a big increase of security and convenience at the same time. When we look at the access segments for us, we have, of course, a lot of pilots going on, and we work together with Gentex, who is making the rear view mirror from a car. They have a big market share there, so we will continue working on that to integrate iris into the car, into the automotive industry. Then we also bring fingerprint sensors into the automotive industry. And we have now also, iris has been launched in Aadhaar payment terminals in India. So you basically pay with your iris through a terminals, because Aadhaar is the registration of every person in India basically by fingerprint and iris, so they can use that to pay and identify themselves with. We have a very strong position in, as I already said, in biometric door locks, which is still continues to increase as a market as it comes more and more into buildings and so forth. And of course, we will bring more in terms of biometric software platform for access as well, so that you can start basically really using it now for access cards for companies and for, we have seen many launches now, whether it's casinos or companies where you will use fingerprint as a method of identification and a method of access, both of those cases. Our target is and remains to be number one in biometrics and continue this Swedish innovation journey that we are on, which is an incredible journey. I still find this market fascinating, interesting. There's a lot of growth opportunities for us. And now, especially after the mobile, to get into more in payment, worry-less payments, as well as into the access part of it, which are helped by in this market, obviously, of everything that is going on. You will see more and more biometry in everything around you, for sure, because you are the key to everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristian.
Thank you.
We have a few questions from the internet, from our audience. Let me start with the dividend policy. Do you have an ambition to start paying a dividend?
Oh, that you have to ask the board. That is my vision is to build this company, make us better, make us stronger, take us to new places, and obviously we need to do well in perform well financially, so that that's something we have to do as well, so that the shareholders will be happy. But when we do dividend, and so that is up to the AGM and the board to decide, right?
And just to mention, you have a buyback program running for the time being.
Exactly, and that's one of the actions the board has taken to improve the capital structure of the company, and in a way also help the shareholders.
Yeah. Okay, and then there is a question on the ultrasound solution for mobile phones. When can we expect to see your ultrasounds in phones?
I think actually now we're working on ultrasonic is looking at doing a full screen solution, which is a very challenging thing in the industry. We have many of these different pilots and projects that we are working on. That is, we don't give any data on how do we do with those. They are kind of technology projects for us. The one thing that we're working more concrete in terms of launches and getting into the market is the hot zone optical in-display solution, which is through the display of the phone, and that's something that we are leaders in capacity, but we are behind in the optical solution getting to the mobile market. We're not happy about that, but we want to get into that market and get our share as well in it, right? So it's important for us to launch. So I don't have any dates to give. We're just working, and whenever we get in with a design win there, we will of course inform the market then about that. That's something that it's important for us to stay in different parts of the value chain in the mobile industry as well.
From a security standpoint, from a technological standpoint, as you see it, is it a given that within 5 years ultrasound or in-display solutions will be the volume solution, or is it possible that the industry goes back to capacitive?
I think that you will see all of them, right? So basically, you're going to see a combination. So you'll have multi-modalities. So you might check with face and fingerprint. You might have iris and face, iris and finger or face together. So you will see many of the modalities, and you see many of the technologies, right? So for example, capacity is very strong in access and will be the dominant part when it comes to payment industry, right? For credit cards and debit cards. In the mobile phone industry, clearly you will see capacitive continues to be very big volumes. Optical is big volumes. You see ultrasonic coming in as well. And then you will see different solutions of those depending on, high end, how large area you're covering with the fingers, and maybe later also you will see full screen, right? That's what the industry is working on, but it is quite challenging and very costly. So you will see different technologies depending on what the display future of the display is. That then impacts, because different material impacts what is better to use when it's ultrasonic, optical, or capacitive, right? So I don't think one of them will win, but it will be actually quite many different segments there. So you need to a little bit choose what do you launch in which segments actually.
And even though you're not really commercial in the optical solutions, have you so far in the market seen the same kind of price erosion within optical as within capacitive?
Yes. I think that applies no matter what technology you put into the mobile phone, is that it always does the same curve, right? It starts, and then when you get to volumes, there is a lot of competition comes in, and then of course the price erosion is quite strong in that. And obviously the same happens in optical, and it happens for every piece of technology that comes into the phone. Actually, I think that's a given. I think that's the way that animal works actually. So.
Now I think that not only you, but also consumers and possibly the banks also have been waiting for the real commercial launches within payment. What kind of immediate or medium-term hurdles do you still see?
I think actually we have really passed the biggest technology hurdles, and the volume production capability hurdles. So those we have now done. So now we can, as an industry, deliver credit cards with biometric fingerprint sensors. We can deliver that. We have also, with these pilots, been going through, because in some countries and some places you still have POS terminals, which are the devices which you kind of put the fingerprint or the credit card into, or you actually flash it for a contactless. So not all of those devices are contactless. Not all of them have the same software upgrade. So some changes, but most of them are. In Europe, most of them are contactless. Most of them have the same, so they work without any changes in the infrastructure. Some need still some upgrade in software, but most of them are by far. So I think that the basics work has been done, is ready. Also the certifications have now been done. So in a way, the whole industry is moving to that. With the pilots, they will move into commercial use now. So I think the next phase is actually now really to get real commercial launches from the bigger banks of Europe. And that will kind of trigger it to start going, right? And then consumers will have that. Finally, they will have the cards really in their hands, right? So I think that we expect that now big banks in Europe have said that they will launch. Now, we're not the ones launching. The banks will be the ones launching, so I cannot say exactly when it will happen, but they have said themselves, the bigger banks in Europe, that this year they will launch commercial launches, real to end users, consumers, their customers, to have biometric payment, and then they can take the cap away and you can start paying with the flip with the second, right?
And comparing access to payment in terms of the pace in which the market will be penetrated, which one do you think will be the first one to penetrate quicker?
I think the payment industry is much bigger. So it will be much bigger because the credit card volumes are so huge. There are, way over 20 billion cards out there. 22 billion cards are out there. Every 3 years, they have to be changed, right? So there is a huge amount of cards being changed every year. Soon 70% of them will be contactless cards. So that is a huge industry. So access will be a good industry. It's not as huge as the payment industry, and it's more scattered. There are more different solutions. So there is more that challenge in it, right? So that's why payment industry is the big one. That's really the big, much bigger than the mobile, bigger than anything else. But access is a good industry, and I do believe that for security and convenience, you will see biometry a lot more now in access as well, because it's so important for cooperation. It's too easy to hack, too easy to copy, too easy to get through with these normal access systems now.
Great. So by that, Kristian, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good to be here again.
Yeah, good to have you.
Yes.
And thank you for watching and listening.